Rashini Rajkumar back with you. Happy Wednesday. We've got quite a show for you today. We'll talk about American brands at the top of the 10 o'clock hour and what are some of those not only favorite, most popular brands, but what are the brands that are actually doing good for society and trying to put some good things out there. You've heard of brands like Airbnb, Facebook. Are they on this new list that Fast Company just put out? It's a very new list. We'll get into that list and hear from Hamlin professor James Hagan at 10:10. But first, what about your engagement or your wedding? If you think back, if you're already married, think back to how much you and your partner spent on the wedding, how much one of the people or both of you spent on engagement rings. Was it too much, too little, and did it accurately predict how well you're doing financially right now as a couple? And for those of you who are out there thinking about marriage, thinking about engagement, what about you? Well, I've got someone with some answers. Trey Peterson joins us from Haven Financial Group in Burnsville. Trey, this is a very interesting topic.
Is definitely probably one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, so is there kind of an over-under on this? I mean, is it the more you spend, the more you have later, or is it the opposite?
Well, here's what I would say as a financial advisor. One of the best times in life to get your finances together is before you make a big commitment of getting married. And interestingly enough, oftentimes we talk about all the things before the wedding bells, but one of the bigger predictors of success in your marriage, according to a new study, is that men that spend between $2,000 to $4,000, or what they would say more on an engagement ring, are 1.3 times more likely to get divorced than those that spend between $500 and $2,000. So basically, the study is talking about instead of going out and splurging and doing kind of what these marketing companies are saying is take 3 months of your salary and go buy this big ring. The best thing that you can do is buy something that's in your budget.
Okay, Trey, let me just stop you here because there are a lot of people out there, probably more women, that are not happy that you just encouraged men to spend between $500 and $2,000 on an engagement ring. I mean, is there even an engagement ring out there that is $500?
Absolutely. Here's here's what I would say. I think closer to that 2,000 mark. And again, these are just numbers put together by a study. I think not to miss the boat.
Yeah, don't blame me. Don't blame Trey is what Trey's saying.
Don't miss the boat. And here's what I would say is don't buy the type of ring that you need to finance. Buy what you can pay cash for with a plan that you're going to pay cash for the wedding that's coming up. And just kind of a quick story, I've got actually a brother-in-law who met a gal, fell in love, and instead of waiting 3 months or 6 months or having these long engagements like you see people have, he decided, you know what, I'm going to go get a ring with what I can pay cash for. He got a ring. It was under $2,000. Him and his wife got married. They've been married almost 4 years now. And a lot of the time, my sister-in-law, Rachel, she had wrote an article, and it was called My Small Wedding Ring. And really, she just wanted to get it out there because she had so many people commenting on how small her ring was. And she wrote this article on how the ring represents the love that her husband had. And at that time, the money that he spent for that was a sacrifice, but it was also, using wisdom. That article went viral and several million people have shared it. And I think the reason is because I think our generation has seen other generations that borrowed so much. They got a loan on their furniture. They got a loan on the ring. They got a loan. And financial pressure causes 80% or more of divorces. And here 4 years later, because he was wise, he didn't pay interest on a ring, he didn't have payments, he paid cash up front, and she's wise enough, and she wrote this article about how much she loves her ring and what it meant to her. So
that's really nice. You'll have to send us that article. That's a really good point. I'm going to ask some of the listeners out there to come clean with us. It is anonymous. Send me a text 81807. How much did you spend on the engagement ring? I'd love to hear from you. Trey would love to give you some feedback. So here is one text that came in, a little bit of a, counter to what you're saying, but I think it's a nice sentiment, Trey. This listener says, we got married at a later age. We just decided that we weren't going to do it again. So we upgraded everything, joyfully threw money at it, no regrets, and yes, we have been successful.
Yeah, here's what I would say. Everything is in context. So I don't think this article is saying spend as little as possible. I think it's saying instead of working to impress your friends and impress your family and doing something that isn't wise, if you have the cash to splurge on a ring and it's not going to put you in a bad spot, then go ahead and do so. And I think, most people when they're getting married, unlike the person that texted in, they're young. If you're already established and you've had a career for a long time, I think that's great. I think the whole goal here is make sure that you're living within your means and work harder to have a great marriage down the road than you're going to impress some friends and family where you're going to end up in the statistics where you're divorced, in under 7 years because you've got so much financial pressure.
Or maybe don't even get married. Remember Ben Affleck and J-Lo, that huge, 14 karat engagement ring. And now, granted, they have the money, but that thing went nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So I'm talking with Trey Peterson with Haven Financial Group in Burnsville. If you have any questions for him, give us a text, 81807. We may even have some time for a call or two, 651-989-9226 or 866-989-9226. So, yeah, like Troy was saying, this new study came out. It's got some secrets of a happy marriage or, kind of according to some of these advisors based on that study. The first secret, an inexpensive diamond. Well, this range, the $500 to $2,000 range, seemed to be, according to this study from Emory University, that the chances of you getting divorced was not as likely. But then if you spent less than $500, the divorce facing rates then went up. So being cheap is also not the way to go. Another secret, a cheap wedding, Trey. Comment on that, and how do you define cheap?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is 36% of couples are borrowing money for their wedding. Now, I know the older generation said, how could you borrow money for a wedding? We always paid cash. Well, these days, the average wedding is more than $35,000.
Oh, my God. You could buy a car for that.
That's right. And a lot of people are financing a lot of that. And kind of one of my favorite stories, about 6 years ago, I went to a wedding, and instead of having a big dinner, they did appetizers, and it's going to sound funny, but their appetizers were hot dogs, water and Kool-Aid, and then they had candy bars. And I heard a lot of people comment on, boy, they're really cheap. Man, the groom is, so tight with his money. All they did was hot dogs. And all I could think is, instead of having one day where you shock people because you have the best chicken or the greatest steak at your wedding, this couple, because they're wise financially, they're going to laugh their way all the way to a 50-year anniversary because they're doing things right.
And that's the time to ride into that 50-year anniversary in like a horse and sleigh, right?
Right.
So we've got some great texts coming in and some calls for you, Trey. Keep them coming, folks. I love these. 81807 is the text line. Okay, so one person says, truth be told, I was married at 30, no plans on upgrading ring. Think we will work on getting debt-free first. Money has ruined parts of our life. We're on the way to a fix. Yep, kind of bears out what you were saying, and they're working on it, Trey, which is a good sign.
Absolutely. And I think, again, I touched on it earlier, but I do think this younger generation is a lot more interested in controlling their time and having less pressure than having the extra things that are going to cause that extra stress. And so, again, over 80% of marriages fail because of finance. So instead of trying to impress your spouse, again, by doing that big ring, by doing that big wedding, say, hey, I'd love to do these huge things for you, but I think we're going to have just as good of a time in our budget, and we're going to have a better marriage because of it. So think long-term, not short-term.
Yeah, we've got some fabulous texts coming in. They're like going bonkers here, so I want to get to some of them. One person said, opted for wedding bands only and eloped and traveled to Europe for 3 weeks. What a great way to bring in marriage. I think that's fabulous. So, it's that experience they spent money on, Trey.
Yeah, and I think our generation is a lot more interested in spending money on experiences than on things. And I think that's a great way to go. I think it's becoming more and more common to see couples do what you're just talking about. They'll go to Mexico, have a small wedding, and then they'll come back and they'll have a little party, family celebration for the wedding. And again, what I would emphasize is don't feel guilty about what's doing right just because everybody else is making the wrong decisions.
All right, so we're going to go through some of these. These are awesome. This is making my day. Thank you, listeners. This person says $250 40 years ago, doing just fine. Another person says married at 19 years old, 24 years later, still married. Congratulations. First ring was $275. Bought her a new one at 15 years in for $1,250. Well, still a bargain hunter. I thought he was going to say for $10,000, but thank you. Very good, sir. We spent $100 for matching bands. We'll celebrate 49th anniversary tomorrow. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
Feel free to send me your names and I will give you a shout out on the air. All right. Judy is calling in from Minnetonka. Hi there, Judy.
Hi there, Rashini.
What is your comment for Trey?
Well, I'll give you an abbreviated story. My husband and I were 18 years old when we got married in 1960. He went downtown Minneapolis to Ronald Jewelers, who handled keepsake diamonds, paid $220 for the set, engagement and wedding band, paid it off $5 at a time.
Oh, that is adorable.
And obviously, if you do the math, we've been married 57 years. We have done well. We have 3 pieces of property that have no mortgages on them. We have new cars that have no mortgages on them. We've raised 2 beautiful children who are traveling down that same kind of economic road.
No, Judy, you sound like a financial advisor's dream, right, Trey?
That's right. Congratulations, Judy. There's no area in life that's more exciting to be successful than your marriage. So congratulations. That's awesome.
It really, really does set the tone. I love that we are getting all these testimonials right now. The text line 81807. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. We bought a small diamond when we were married 50 years ago, then bought a large diamond at the 30th anniversary. The little diamond is in a special band next to the big one. Well, that's pretty cool. I love that. All right, let's see. There are just so many. Married at 18, $100 for, whoops, I'm missing some of the words here, but it looks like they've been married for 32 years. So that's great. I love this one. 40th anniversary. Our advice to newly married young couples, let the Joneses win.
That's good.
That is really, really good. All right, Trey, there are so many. I mean, basically, this is kind of like what I'm guessing you tell your clients for all financial matters. Be smart. Don't overindulge.
Absolutely. And I mean, if I was to add 2 things, I would say, men, nothing is more sexy to your future wife or your wife than a big savings account. Even more sexy than that big ring. And I've heard that from my wife myself. And then second,
fairly close as if they can cook, Trey. That's fairly close.
I'm working on that one.
But it is nice when they're cooking out of, clean and higher end pots and pans, and you need a little bit of money for that. So
right.
I hear you. Okay, keep going.
And then the next thing I would say is, when my wife and I got married just a little over, about 2 years ago, one of the things I told her, we had a 10-day honeymoon in Mexico, and I said, babe, during our honeymoon, one of the things that is important to me is we'll play the whole 10 days. Other than I want one day of 3 to 4 hours to put together a financial plan together. One of the things that I see that
so romantic.
A lot of young couples make mistakes. They don't merge their money or their expenses, and they don't talk about money for the first couple of years. And one of the things that I've found is we have a joint account where all expenses come out. Studies show that that's the best way to do it. It also eliminates a problem if, the wife is making $120,000 a year and the husband's making $40,000. If you have those joint accounts that cover expenses, that's nice. And then have a small budget. Maybe it's $100 a month, or you start with $50 a month, and obviously as you grow, you can add to that. But I know there's times where I've said to my wife, you spent $50 to get your nails done, and she'll say, yeah, a little less than you spent taking your buddy out to dinner.
Nice, good.
Touche.
So easy. Yeah, she's good. It's so easy to think the other is so foolish with their money. So have an amount, even if you're starting with $20 a month, that you can spend that, you and your spouse, and you don't question each other on it because that's the fun money.
Exactly. Well, Trey, thank you so much. This obviously hit such a chord with people. And when we come back from break, I am going to get into more of the text. So you'll have to keep listening, Trey, because we've got some great ones here. Thank you so much. He is Trey Peterson. You can check him out at Haven Financial Group in Burnsville. Really appreciate your time today. And the Lindus Construction time is 9:51. Time to call Lindus for a free home hail damage inspection. Rashini Rajkumar with you. We were having so much fun. I want to get Ron's call in. Ron, we don't have a lot of time, but what is your engagement or marriage story?
Well, I just wanted to tell you a funny one. I used to do divorce work. I'm a lawyer, and I represented a wife who was married to an alcoholic. And they were both invited to their daughter's wedding, of course, and they had the groom's dinner. Well, the groom's parents paid for the dinner. They were having chicken Kiev. Well, the husband by then was drunk. That is the father of the bride was drunk. He got up and he told the whole crowd, if anybody doesn't want this chicken Kiev, I'll buy a steak for anybody who wants it. Well, nobody wanted one except him, and he ordered it. He choked on the first piece, and they had to do the Heimlich maneuver.
Oh, my God, Ron. And here I was like, oh, yes, Ben, we've got to get Ron in to get a guy's take on
And, of course, there you have it.
Yeah, thank you, Ron, for sharing that this morning. Oh, my gosh, so many fabulous texts. And we'll try to intersperse them throughout the show today because they're fabulous. Thank you, folks. I just love them. I want to quickly read one. Our wedding and engagement was within our means. Dresses homemade. Reception was sandwiches by church ladies. Married 47 years. Financial focus was on marriage, not wedding. That is from Thea. Thank you, Thea. That is a wonderful, wonderful story. Well, we have lots more show. Rashini Rajkumar in for John Hines today. When we come back, some of the popular brands in our country and what are they doing for you and for the nation. We'll talk about that with Hamline University professor James Hagan when we return.